Hello, everybody. Welcome to Module 4, Session 3, Understanding Gestalt Principles, Similarity. Let's dive in. So, in Session 2, we have talked about closure and we have looked into different examples like logo, compositions, right? And how closure plays an important role to achieve simplistic and meaningful design, which our brain can easily comprehend. And apart from that, we have went through multiple examples which also talked about what are the observations we can look into as a designer to compose the overall composition in a more meaningful way and effective way without creating more chaos, like how simple it can be. So today in session 3, we'll try to understand what is Gestalt's principles of similarity. So let's go through that. So in if you see this slide in Gestalt's similarity, right, principle of similarity, similar elements are visually grouped regardless of their proximity to each other. So they can be grouped by color, shape, or size. What it means by that, the Gestalt's principle of similarity states that elements that share visual characteristics such as shape, color, size, texture, or orientation are perceived as belonging to the same group or pattern. So, this principle reflects the human brain's natural tendency to organize and to interpret objects based on shared attributes, creating a sense of harmony and order in visual experiences. So if you see here in this slide, again in the lower portion, it's mentioned that it's grouping by color. So even though this both elements are different in different group, right? Somewhere or the other, your brain tends to create similarity based on color. So we'll go through different segments how principle of similarity can be attained. So this example primarily highlights how the color plays an important role in the principle of similarity. Here there are two segments you can easily see, right? And you can quickly identify the similar colors here. And your brain has automatically grouped this in such a way that although the groups are different, you are also comparing, your brain is also comparing both the colors as a equal element. So you can ask like how this happened in a real life scenario. So I'm showcasing a screenshot from amazon.com of Indian version, right? So you can see here how principle of similarity is attained using similar colors. Okay, so grouping by color is happening based on this button to add to cart where you can see easily. So the users can easily identify this button irrespective where it has been plotted, right? Although the grid has not been maintained in terms of horizontal layout, but since the grouping has been done in terms of color, your brain will automatically understand quickly without reading it. So once I have read this add to cart, I know rest of the buttons are associated to add to cart without emphasizing on the details of the text or the explanation about that button. Next, another important thing here you can easily identify is the red color. So here again the grouping in terms of color is happening again on the basis of limited time deal. So these are the deals which have limited timer, right? And based on that you can easily identify on this particular segment, right? There are around 5 products. So within that 5 products, these 2 products have limited time deal, and this grouping has been like projected based on color. So principle of similarity is now again working here, showing us where is the color, like variations are happening in terms of color, and you can quickly decide. Your eyes can quickly navigate within this particular group. Yeah. So this is the color. These are the two things which we have discussed about. Next, grouping by color also happen in our day-to-day life when we travel. So primarily people who are staying in cities, right? they can easily see those things in terms of traffic. So traffic light are again, it follows the principle of similarity in terms of grouping by color. You can see here how all the elements associated to traffic are kept in one post, and again within one post there are different segments, like people are like the walking signal is there, again there is a green signal, again both can be grouped, like it's a signal to go ahead or move ahead, right? Again the color, so the moment in both the signal, if the color of yellow highlights, right, it's a warning that you have to be get ready, either it will stop or it will allow you to go. So similarly, red is again universal signal, right, where you have to stop no matter what. So even in the pedestrian segment, when you can see people are walking, if there is a this color becomes red, right, definitely I am stopping. So if I am driving a car and in this segment, right, if it becomes green or red, I have to follow the traffic rule. So grouping by color, irrespective what it's trying to show, is again a principle of similarity which we observe and which we practice regularly while traveling, especially in city areas or town where the traffic light or traffic signals are being observed. Next is in terms of layout design, especially in book publication. So this is one of the page I have taken a screenshot from the book Thinking with Type by Lupton E. And you can see here how the colors are again playing an important role in dividing the overall layout of the book. So here you can easily identify the colors of red has been taken into consideration, and the subpart and the brief detail about this, right, which is not associated to this paragraph, has been mentioned here. Similarly, regarding this detail, again you can see this is the segment which they are taking into consideration. So while I am going through this book, right, while I am browsing through this book, I am indirectly getting a navigation through principle of similarity. Navigation in terms of, like, if I am reading this paragraph, right, so the color which are associated to this will connect me, will help me to group me with this portion. And since it's in the top portion, I will not connect this with here. Okay, primarily since it's close by, my eyes will tend to connect this color with this, and I will try to read about it. And this is where the idea of navigation is happening without telling the description literally in text. Okay, and how the principle of similarity is playing an important role in just helping you or navigating you through different segments once you know how the overall structure has been addressed. So primarily in book design, in poster design, in infographic, principle of similarity plays a very important role in navigating the users in a very harmonious way, such that there is less clutter, less direction, right? But there are cues which will help me to navigate through that. So next portion is grouping by size. In the previous segment, we have learned about grouping by color, right? So another segment where we will see how principles of similarity can be attained, that too by using size as an element. So in this picture, you can clearly see there are around how many squares? Eight circles. There are 8 circles. Out of them, 2 circles are bigger in size, right? And the rest of the circles are smaller. So automatically your brain is trying to signal you saying ki these smaller circles are again correlated with the similar attributes of this smaller circle. Similarly, again, the bigger circles are associated with each other. So this is where our brain quickly creates a perception based on the representation, how it has been done. And again, here, as I said, the overall idea of this discussion is about grouping by size. And here, how size played an important role in enabling us or navigate us towards understanding that these two things may be similar and rest of the elements are grouped together. So grouping by size in terms of UI plays a very important role. Nowadays, most of the domains, especially the digital platforms, are basically app based, right? And somewhere the other, the idea of similarity always helps to navigate users and to go through the overall information in a more harmonious way. So here, this is a mock-up. I think we have also discussed it mock-up in a different context in principles of design. But as I said in the previously also, the principles of design and Gestall's principles are almost close to similar. But in Gestall's principles, what we are trying to understand is the perception, like how we perceive things and how it impacts the overall output. Whereas in design principles, we are trying to understand how the principles can be utilized and be composed, understanding those elements. So basically using elements, how you're creating better output, right, and which is making more sense to comprehend the overall information. And in Gestall's principles, again, it's almost similar, but we are looking from the eyes of like how we are perceiving it, like how it's impacting us. Okay, so here, if you see this example, right, you can see grouping by size is happening. So grouping by size, how it's happening, let's see. So again, I said in any principles, it's like it's not necessary when we are talking about one principle, there you are only emphasizing on one. In any composition there can be multiple principles, so don't be confused that okay, suddenly I see another principle. Yes, there can be there, but we are discussing this assignment taking one example. Yes, you will identify different elements or principles associated to it, but yes, the discussion is primarily happening on this specific one which we are trying to address. So here again, you can see grouping by colors also happening if you see here in the segment. But now for the discussion, we are also observing the idea of sizes. So now the idea of sizes are again creating a perception. So when I see this add to cart, right, the size dimension is equally similar to this checkout. Okay, and because of this, these two are decisive buttons. So basically you are deciding and pressing it, and that's why the whole idea of representing this is bigger in size, such that your attention goes there and you are purposely and consciously deciding to for that or that buying choice, right? And similarly, if you see here, right, this segment, the sizes are similar in nature and some of the sizes are half shown. Again, this is again part of a UI where if things are half shown in the world of UI, especially when you are swiping things left and right, this also enables us and also navigate us to go towards more information. It will enable us to swipe more. So nowadays at this time when I am recording, so in the Instagram has also added such kind of features. When I'm scrolling through your multiple pictures, some of the pictures will be shown half, just to let you know that there are more informations, where it triggers you, it enables you to look the full pictures. So this is where the idea of UI is evolving now. And grouping by size, so when I see a specific size here, again it gives me a perception that this segment is in one group. Similarly, this segment is in another group, right? Again, the add button is different here, right? Again, I'm looking this portion as a similar reference for seeking that okay, if I add this button will act the same thing, so the overall information will go to the cart, right? And finally, once decided, I will go for checkout once everything is decided. Similarly, recent view, this is again the, as I said, this portion is shown half. Again, this is associated to UI, where it enables me to look for more details. So here the idea of grouping by size is playing an important role. Again, in terms of in the upper portion, you can see the menu and the magnifier option is there, right? And that means it's associated to search. So if I tap in here, I can easily type things. If I tap in here, I will get all the details about rest of the information which are not visible in this app, right? So most of the things which are associated here are kept in the same segment and same sizes, which will always enable or navigate us to connect with that application in a much better way without any confusion or mistake. So this is another example I would like to show here. This is the website which is for iCode 2025, which is happening in January, and I have created a small clip on that, like how the idea of grouping is happening in terms of sizes. So if you see in the top portion, right, the all the menu text which are associated to that event are similar in size, and since they are similar in size, automatically you tend to keep it in a similar group. Another segment is like this, all are plotted in the same proximity. So this again falls under principles of proximity, which we will discuss in the upcoming session. Okay, as I said, there can be multiple elements, principles associated in one composition. So this is one of it. So in terms of sizes, again, if you see this portion, right, again, here the idea is like how the sizes are also defining in terms of hierarchy. So when I read the first portion, which is in blue, right, it shows the heading of that overall banner. Then gradually you go to the details of it, where join us for iCode, early bird registrations were mentioned. So your eyes gradually creates an hierarchy because of these sizes. Okay, similarly the important dates are also mentioned here, right? So again, the dates also are very much important when you are hosting any kind of conferences, because based on that date you also let your audience know when is the deadline, when you can submit the papers, when is the review happening, right? What are the events which are going to happen. So that's why in that way there is a consistency of size and background color, right? You can see the typeface and the things. Again, this is associated to the idea of similarity, which is grouped by the idea of sizes. Okay, and if you scroll more, and you will get the idea in a much better way. So but for the reference, I have quickly taken this clip such that you can relate how the UI world also take the advantage of Gestall's principles of similarity. Now, let's see another example. So this is based on our layout book and publication design, right? So here you can see how the idea of sizing is happening. So if you see, this is the title header, right? The overall header of this paragraph, and based on that, yeah, so you can sense there are subheaders which are associated to that, right? You can see that, right? And these are again creating a group in terms of represent, because all the sizes are similar, all the font sizes are similar, and the all are bold in nature, right? And because there are grids associated to it, you can easily distinguish the segments different. There are overall how many columns? One, two, three, four columns are there, right? And when you're considering all these four columns, right, you can also see, because of the size of this, there is a consistency. So your brain will automatically help you to understand that these are together, and these are talking about specific I would say definition of typography. And although these are divided in column, but these are not divided, so it has a sense of modular grid. Again, when you will go through the course of print and publication, you will understand what are the different grids in more detail. Primarily, you can see how the grid is again divided into four segments here. Apart from that, since this we are talking about sizes, and because of the sizes, you can see is a good contrast between all the compositions, and that contrast is enabling you to decide that which group is talking about what. So this is one group, if you see, right? These are another small groups which are associated in the compositions, right? Again, the typeface is similar, but the sizes is changing here. Okay, so that's why grouping by size is happening, and this can be attained in not only in layout design, but anything. Even if you are doing any kind of poster design, these similar things can be utilized to create an hierarchy in terms of information consumption. Yes, so now we are coming to grouping by shape. So we as you can recall, we have talked about the color, grouping by color, where how color plays important role in terms of deciding where our eyes can or navigate through the information. Second, we have talked about how sizes play important role. Right now we are looking into shapes. So in this picture you can easily see there are circles and triangle. And the triangle, when you see the triangle, you can easily identify that your brain has quickly identified that these trees triangles, because they are of similar sizes, they tend to be in the same group, right? And even though they are accumulated in one segment, single segment, but your eyes tend to navigate this triangles in a different group. Similarly, the rest of the circles feels like they are in a one group. So this is how the grouping by shape happens. And primarily this is again very important while you do any kind of compositions and you are using multiple shapes in your composition to define or navigate the overall information. Then definitely grouping by shape also will play important role. And we as a designer have to understand how such kind of compositions can create different perception. So we have to be careful, equally careful, how we look into this and how do we execute this in a much better way. So I think we have discussed this logo in the previous segment, right? In terms of closure, and now we are looking in terms of similarity. So if you see here, the logo has been replicated in different flavors, and based on the flavor, the color has been defined. Okay, so this is a very beautiful example of how, in terms of packaging design or branding or visual branding, the principle of similarity plays an important role for the consumer to associate with that brand and to build trust, even though the product which they are providing may be of a different segment within that particular brand. Okay, so once I see the logo, automatically I will correlate, I will associate with my past experience wherever I have looked in the logo, right? And based on that, it enables us to again to decide whether to buy or not. So we can easily see here the principle of similarity is happening because of the shape of the logo. So since we are associating with the logo, right, and it has been consistent, right, in all over the segments of this product, so you are associating, although these are different flavors using different colors, since the logo is consistent in all the different flavors, you're grouping the overall flavors in one segment, that is the brand associated to that. And this is where most of the visual branding, especially in the world of branding, plays along to create association with different products. So one brand may have multiple products, right? And to create the association with each product, they might also use their logo such that people have a trust on it, and they will associate it with the overall brand essence which they have created, they have been able to create. So principles of similarity again in terms of logo has been projected here, and you can also take a reference when you do any kind of work associated to any kind of product where you feel okay, I want to associate this product with that particular brand, and then you can quickly use the logo and that will automatically do your job in a much better way, rather than highlighting different elements. Okay, so it's not again another point which I want to highlight. Sometimes some of the brand also ignore the logo, they will just use the theme color which they have been highly showcasing it, maybe marketing it. So sometimes it may happen you are not looking the logo, but the theme color is also helping you to make a perception about that brand. And that can also help if the brand has successfully created a stronger value in terms of theme, right? The moment I see, suppose if I see blue and some other color which are maybe a yellow which has been projected very strongly throughout the marketing campaign, so later in the later phase it might become the brand recall value in terms of color. So sometimes just the color also helps to or enables the users to create or recall the particular brand in a way that they have been trying to project. Okay, so as I say, principles of similarity can be using color, which we have discussed. Right now we are focusing just on the logo. Yes, so this is in terms of the anatomy of the product. So if you see, there are different products associated and different bottles, right? Different smaller tubes are also there. And since the overall anatomy plays an important role here, right? You will associate this tube to correlate with this, even though the colors are different. So it may be these are some kind of a segment within the like overall or like maybe bathroom toiletries, right? So in that way, how those things can play an important role in terms of associating. So now here primarily, if you see such kind of bottles, right, somewhere or the other it's associated to any kind of spray. So even though the product color may be different, since the bottle shape is similar, it gives us a I would say our brain will try to quickly guess it, assuming that okay, this falls under the category of deodorant, right, or any kind of spray. So if you see here, this can be any kind of a lotion, right? So even though if I change the color of it, right, maybe there are 3 4 colors of particular thing, but my brain will always make us believe that okay, since the bottle are same, maybe these all are lotions but with different features or ingredient, right? So again, especially in the world of packaging, this plays a very important role in terms of identifying or creating a perception while before buying the product or before experiencing the product. So this is again another example which we are looking. So this, if you see this packaging, it's very much playful in nature. Even the color which they have used are very much vibrant. So here you may ask why I have used the word grouping by shape, right? Shape, what I am trying to say is the stroke here, because that stroke is purely defining the idea of the brand. So that stroke is very much organic in nature, very much calligraphic in nature, and because of that idea, it feels very much organic. Okay, and that became an identity of that particular brand. So I'm grouping by shape. It's like since the stroke has been used in the overall representing the brand, they have also used a similar stroke to create characteristic of that particular brand. Okay, so these are some of the characters of that particular brand which are using have a similar stroke. So that's why grouping by shape in terms of stroke we are discussing it. Okay, so you can see how they have came up with a series of typeface design. Basically, this is a new way of defining the typeface for that particular brand. And wherever you can see this type of typeface, right, you will always associate it with this nuts.com. Okay, and that's the beauty of similarity in terms of shape. So you this is a very good example where you can take along the particular brand, right, using a single stroke, and that stroke has been replicated repeatedly in different sizes, but the shape of the stroke is quite evidently similar. It feels like hand drawn, it feels like very organic, and it's very contrasting to the competitors, and it becomes a very strong representation of that particular brand. It becomes a visual language for that particular brand. So this is how you can attain the idea of similarity using shape, especially in print and publication and packaging. So now we are here in terms of grouping the shape. So earlier we have talked in terms of the overall visual language in the branding, right? Now we are just focusing on the logo part. So here you can see how the anatomy of M has been replicated thrice, and the stroke thickness seems to be similar. And the overall composition is designed in such a way that it feels like it has been grouped. The M has been grouped as a whole together, and there are 3 alphabets of M. So this is a mixed use development Japan organization. It was designed by Chair Mayev and Gizmar in 2022. So here the logo, you can see how it has been replicated using the same angular indent, but yeah, the sizes are changing, but the shape seems to be almost similar, right? Although this is expanding, because but again we are talking in terms of the shape of the stroke. the stroke shape has been similar and the angular indent are almost close to similar, right? Yes, another example flow. This is a mineral water brand in Israel designed by Dex Alexander and Co. and Yotam Haider in 2027. So you can see here how the soft strokes has been depicted to create an essence of water, right? And this has been continued till the edge of this logo, and because of this similar representation of this shape, right, you tend to take this logo as a whole. So sometimes we say ki logo doesn't seem balanced, right? We say the logo seems to be very much odd, some elements are not connecting. So this is a very good example where you can use Gestalt principles of similarity, where you are maintaining the same shape while you are exploring the logo, and that will some or the other, even though the elements shape can be different, but if the stroke shape is similar overall the logo, it will look more balanced, more connected as a whole, and the idea of unity will be projected in a more harmonious way. So this is another interesting take you can consider while designing a logo. Make sure you use the stroke. If it's a line logo, right, if it's a less shape logo, if the whole line is the main purpose of your logo, so make sure the line is consistent, right, and the anatomy of the line is maintained in all the segments of the logo. So that will create more harmonious representation of the composition. So this is a very good example where you can see, although these segments are very much not attached to this overall word, right, flow, but since the elements has similar anatomical representation, similar curves, right, and the edges are softened in a similar manner, overall you are grouping it in terms of similar shape. Although these are not meaningful text, these are just abstract representation of a water flowiness, right? But somewhere or the other you are grouping the overall logo as a whole, irrespective of there are different elements which are not legible, I would say not readable, because these are not alphabets, right? And but you're all, when you look at the logo, it feels like complete, even though there's a, they are not alphabet. And this is happening primarily because the shape of that particular stroke is kept consistent. Okay, so when you are designing any kind of logo, keep that in your mind. Like if you want to create more harmonious, more balanced representation, make the stroke consistent. Even though you are depicting different shapes, it's fine. If the stroke is consistent, it will be more effective and it will be more harmonious in nature. So now we have came to the end of this session, and I'm pretty sure you have understood what are the variations of similarities. Like we have considered similarity in terms of color, right? Similarity in terms of color, how color plays and help us to navigate the overall composition, right? Even though the grouping can be different, but using color you can recall or you can associate the other group elements using similar color. The example which we have taken in terms of Amazon India website, right, where the products are lined up together, but since the colors are similar, somewhere or the other you know what is the product details are talking about. So in terms of a limited time offer or deals, some of the products get highlighted because of the similarity in terms of color and the text which are associated to it. In other segment, we have also learned about similarity in terms of sizes. So sizes plays an important role in terms of creating a correlation in the overall composition. So that's why when you use typography, when you are using text in most of the composition, primarily when you are using your presentation slides, right, make sure the headers are consistent in nature, right, such that if you skip to the next page, people always associate, okay, this is not the main content, but this is the heading of that. Again, make your if the rest of the content, if you're going in detail or subheaders are there, make sure the sizes are similar in nature, such that people have a better recall and understand that this is the overall visual language you are trying to address. And finally, we have talked about similarity in terms of shapes. So shapes again in terms of logo, how we have talked about, right? The consistency of strokes, the consistency of the edges, the turn, the curves. If that can be maintained, it can easily be harmonious in nature. So if we conclude, the Gestalt principles of similarity is a cornerstone of effective visual design. It empowers designers to create organized, intuitive, and aesthetically pleasing visuals that enhance user experiences. So, by grouping elements based on shared characteristics, designers can communicate complex ideas efficiently, direct attention, which we have taken multiple examples, I hope you can recall that, where needed, and ensure coherence across a wide range of visual medium. This principle is very much vital for creating designs and both functional and memorable. So you have definitely went through all the functional part, right? Where we have talked about how it navigates us, and also memorable because of that functionality. Say for example of color, sizes, it will always create a memorable like experience in terms of consuming such kind of information. So, with this, we'll end this session here. And thank you for your time. I hope you all have got some idea about similarity as a Gaston's principles and why it is important for this, right? For us. We'll end this session here. And the next session, we'll be learning about principles of continuity in Gaston's. So, goodbye. Thank you.